I'm Sandy Ella with VIN News, speaking with independent mayoral candidate, former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Governor, thank you so much for making the time to speak with me today.
No,
Early,
thank you.
Thank you. Early voting is already underway, and election day is literally right around the corner, so let's just jump right in. A few hours ago, Joe Biden, who had previously endorsed Curtis Sliwa, flipped his endorsements, telling New Yorkers that voting Cuomo is the only way to prevent an impending disaster. Were you surprised by the endorsements?
I was. I was. Uh, Dov Hikind has been a long-time supporter of a fellow named Curtis Sliwa. Uh, Curtis Sliwa was running on the Republican line, and I respect what Dov Hikind said uh, because it's true and it's realistic. A vote for Curtis Sliwa is a vote for Mondami because Curtis Sliwa cannot win. He's just a spoiler in the race. So any votes he gets basically benefit Mondami. And Dov Hikind's point, and a lot of people's point, my point, Mayor Eric Adams, which is why he dropped out of the race, is that Mondami is an existential threat. He is a socialist, and he is divisive, and he is unqualified, and we all should do whatever we have to do to stop him from winning.
Do you think this is indicative of an 11th hour trend to try to turn this into a race that has only two viable contenders?
Yes, I think that happens naturally when you get towards the election because nobody wants to waste their vote. If I know you don't have any chance of winning, I may like you very much, Sandy, but I'm not going to vote for you if I don't think you have any chance because then I feel my vote doesn't really count. So the real contest is it's either me or Mamdani. And so I think you'll see Sliwa's vote shrink and people vote for either me or Mamdami. In the primary, there were candidates who were at 18 points and wound up at 4 points because that's what happens when people get close to the election and they see that they're not going to win, they're not really in the running, then they shift to one of the two possible contenders.
As governor, you enacted bail reform in 2019. Since that time, New York City has been plagued by crime, with judges and district attorneys sending criminals back out onto the streets. Innocent people have been terrorized by repeat offenders. Stores have shut down because they can't keep pace with shoplifters. As mayor of New York City, would you still be in favor of bail reform? And what are your plans to combat crime given the realities of bail reform?
Yeah, let's just correct a couple of facts. I passed a bail reform law 6 years ago. The right that we were trying to wrong was that there was a young man who was accused of stealing a backpack, the stealing a backpack, like a high school student. He goes before the judge. The judge sets a trial date, $900 bail. The family can't pay the 900 bail. He goes to Rikers. He's in Rikers for 2 years before he ever had his case even heard. He's abused in Rikers and he winds up killing himself. The family couldn't pay $900. Why set bail on the charge of stealing a backpack? He was not a danger. He was not a flight risk. So bail reform said for a non-serious, non-violent crime, don't set bail. If you think the person may be a flight risk, use an ankle bracelet, electronic monitoring, etc. If it's a serious charge, violent charge, then set bail. That was 6 years ago. I had a provision in the law 6 years ago that said, regardless of all of that, the judge has discretion on a case-by-case basis. The legislature wouldn't agree that the judge has discretion because they thought it was the exception would swallow the rule. Since that law was passed, the law has been changed 4 times. So there's a new bail reform law. And because, you pass a law and then there's another law and another law. So there's a totally different bail reform law. Judges do have discretion. Prosecutors do have discretion. They have to use it. And I think we have a city of New York where the far left of the Democratic Party is dominant, and nobody should go to jail. And that's the political pressure on the judges and the prosecutors. So I would appoint judges who actually follow the law, and push to elect prosecutors who actually follow the law. Crime is up, not down. People have to be safe. Safety is job one. And I would hire 5,000 additional police officers, because one of the factors you didn't mention is they defunded the police. They took $1 billion out of the police force. We have the smallest police force in modern political history, Sandy. And I would hire 5,000 more cops, 1,500 in the subways, and that basically brings us back to what they call full force, which is where we were under Rudy Giuliani.
On to the elephant in the room so we can clear the air and focus on the other issues. Members of the Orthodox Jewish community have told you they felt like you threw them under the bus during COVID. You responded to those concerns by emphasizing your decades-long relationship with them, making clear there was never any malice behind the shutdowns and the red zones. A day before Yom Kippur, you released a video apologizing to the Orthodox Jewish community, saying that you made decisions during COVID that lacked cultural and religious sensitivity. But the next day, you told a reporter at an IBEW Local 3 event that you'd apologized only for the fact that the community felt slighted and not for anything you might have done wrong. Please clarify that discrepancy for our viewers.
Yes. During COVID, there were 2 issues. One, I was sued by the Jewish community and by the Catholic community because we placed limits on number of people who could gather. So I forget the limit, but let's say it was no more than 50 people. That meant a church couldn't have more than 50 people, a synagogue couldn't have more than 50 people. They sued me. I said, as a breach of religious freedom. I said, I understand the religious freedom. Now, the Catholic Church is suing. I happen to be Catholic. So they're suing me. I said, I understand religious freedom. I understand going to church. I'm a former altar boy. But there's a health risk. And you bring people into church, you could spread the infection and people could get sick, people could die. They disagreed with me. They sued me. They wanted the larger congregations. Okay. On the Orthodox community, towards the end of COVID, we were reopening. And the way we reopened was by neighborhoods. And the state would get the infection rate data from the local health department. And depending on your infection rate, you could open fully, middle, less, depending on your infection rate. Some of the Orthodox communities had a high infection rate. Some Hasidic communities had a very low infection rate. It had nothing to do with being Orthodox Hasidic. It was how that community, if they took the vaccines, if they were wearing the masks, etc. So some of the Orthodox communities had a high infection rate and called what they call red zones. Now, we also had red zones upstate. We had Black communities that were red zones. We had white communities that were red zones. We had Christian communities that were red zones. But the Orthodox community said they felt that they were being stigmatized and that it stereotyped them because they were red zones. I said, I'm very sorry for that impression. It had nothing to do with the truth. Race, religion, creed had nothing to do with anything. Uh, and I can now see how they could feel that it led to a negative stereotype of the Orthodox community. And I should have communicated more with them at the time, which I didn't. Uh, I didn't communicate because the whole red zone uh, piece was not a major situation. I was doing briefings every day, and I wasn't even following this red zone concept that closely, frankly. But I said, I apologize. I should have communicated directly. What I was saying in the IBEW hall, it had nothing to do with them being Orthodox communities that didn't have any weight in the determination. That's what I was saying. It I did not, I never said, oh, we made them red zones because they were Orthodox Hasidic communities, which is what the person was asking me. I said, no. I did apologize for any stereotype or lack of communication. That's what that was about.
Did you apologize for a lack of cultural sensitivity, religious sensitivity?
Well, the religious sensitivity, I got sued, I told you, by the Catholic and the Jewish. It's not that I wasn't sensitive. I was sensitive to the fact that the Catholic Church wanted people to go to church on Sunday. But my point was, how about the public health risk? And the Catholic Church said, we get the public health risk, but we're more concerned about people going to church.
Was
I
there a
said,
public health risk with the George Floyd protests and the Black Lives Matter protests?
yeah, they were not supposed to do that. That was all illegal. All illegal.
Okay, thank you. I want to move on. The clock is ticking. I know how valuable your time is. A few rapid fire questions for you, most of which can be answered in a single word. As mayor, would you support ICE removing immigrants from New York City?
Uh,
You could use as
if they're
many words.
criminals, yes.
Okay. The homeless issue isn't going away. Do you support putting homeless shelters in residential areas?
Well, it depends on where. It has to be the right site.
Congestion pricing. Would you keep it, dial it back to save drivers money, or repeal it altogether?
I think it's here to stay now. I don't think you can change it.
Would you want to change it?
No, I think it's here to stay now, and the state will never change it.
Taking as many words as you like, no more rapid fire. What would you like to say to convince the undecided Orthodox Jewish voter, or even the Orthodox Jewish voter who might have some issues with you, to cast their ballots for you in this all-important race?
Number one, there has been no governor who has been a greater supporter of the Orthodox community than me. If there was a second, it would be my father. Sorry, Pop. Well, let's say we're tied. Uh, I have always been there for your community, which has many particular needs. Uh, I started working with your community during my father's first campaign. I was like 24 years old. I understand the housing needs, the education needs, the medical needs. Uh, I passed all sorts of different measures as governor to help the community do just that. The what they call substantially equivalent law to allow yeshivas to operate. That is going to be a major, major issue where you're going to need a real friend who knows how to help, because there's going to be a lot of powers that want to close down those yeshivas. And they're just using the substantially equivalent law, I think, as an excuse to do what they want to do anyway. So I have a long-term relationship. I've always been there. I'm 100% pro-Israel. I was the first governor to pass a law against BDS. Every time Israel had a major attack, I traveled to Israel. Shimon Peres asked me to come when he wanted to show the first tunnels. I worked with Israel as far back as Prime Minister Ehud Barak at Camp David when I was in Bill Clinton's cabinet. So our relationship goes back far and long, and your community will not have a better champion. I've lived with your community more than half my life, so I understand the needs, and I have a special affection, which is what made uh, that issue about COVID so personally hurtful uh, all around. Uh, the Either I'm going to win or Mandami's going to win. If you vote for Curtis Lewa, just vote for Mandami. It's faster. Mandami is a socialist. Mandami has been highly offensive to Israel and the Jewish community. I have pushed him very hard. He will not denounce globalize the Intifada. He will not denounce his friendship with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. He won't recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. Uh, so he is, I think, a highly divisive personality. Not only has he upset the Jewish community, he gave the Christopher Columbus statue. He gave the proverbial finger to the statue and took a picture doing that and tweeted the picture. That's directly insulting to Italian Americans. He called Barack Obama evil and the liar. Uh, he was disrespectful to the LGBTQ community. He's a very divisive force. And New York, we need a uniter, not a divider. We divide on our own. We have so many differences here, 190 languages. There's always divisions. You have to be constantly working to unite and bring people back together. And then the other point is, he has no experience whatsoever to do the job. Mayor of New York is a real job. You manage 300,000 people. You have a $115 billion budget. This man has never had a job. He's 34 years old. He's the son of millionaires from Uganda. He grew up in a mansion in Uganda. He's been an assemblyman for 2 terms. He passed 3 bills, which is nothing. He missed 80% of the votes. 80%. He missed more votes than any other member of the legislature. So he's not even serious about government. And, mayor, God forbid, not only do you have to figure out how to hire more police and do public safety, et cetera, there is a crisis almost any given day. A storm, a flood, God forbid, another 9/11. He's going to be in charge of the safety of 8.5 million people? I don't think so. He wants to cut police. He wants to raise taxes. I think it will be very destructive for New York.
Okay, so basically, back to the Jewish community, you're saying, look at a relationship that spans decades. Every relationship might have an up and down, but look at the big picture, and there's so much to see here.
It's a 40-year relationship.
Or It's more than that,
Yes.
very long time. Okay, one more thing before I let you go. Can I get a promise for a sit-down interview for VIN News in City Hall once you win the election?
Say that again. If it's a promise, I want to make sure I got every word. Go ahead.
A sit-down interview for VIN News in City Hall once you become mayor.
A sit-down interview, which means we sit down and we have an interview? Yes.
Okay, you got it. Thank you so much for your time. I hope to hear good news for you on November 4th.